Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Fears over a slowing U.S. economy send stocks tumbling. The decline raises concerns about the Federal Reserve's strategy to tackle inflation. Hurricane Debby now has been downgraded from a Category 1 hurricane to a tropical storm after making landfall along the Florida coast. What danger it poses to the region. Vice President Kamala Harris is set to announce her VP pick. Who are the three candidates on her shortlist? The International Boxing Association and the Olympic Committee spar over the gender controversy surrounding two boxers, what they have to say about the athletes' chromosome tests. Another Hamas leader reportedly killed. How the U.S. is attempting to de-escalate the conflicts in the Middle East. We'll have those updates. A chance meeting between man and his best friend inspires him to create something special for stray dogs. Hurricane Debby hit Florida's Big Bend coast, causing serious flooding and a dangerous storm surge as it moves north across the state. NTD's Christina Corona provides the update on the storm.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency Monday for 61 counties anticipated to be impacted by the storm. The storm is expected to move through north central Florida and into Georgia and the Carolinas. Sunday and Monday morning, the storm impacted the west coast of Florida, starting in the southwest and continuing up the coast.
This storm has produced and will likely produce significant flooding events from Sarasota, Bradenton area all the way up to northern Florida. We have 3,000 service members from the Florida National Guard that are on standby, and that includes search and rescue, route clearance, distribution, and protection of critical infrastructure.
The maximum sustained winds for Debby have reached 80 miles an hour, with higher gusts throughout the storm area and leaving more than 300,000 energy customers without power. Florida's Gulf Coast faces severe flooding from heavy rains, with some areas already getting over 10 inches and expecting up to 20 inches more. According to the National Hurricane Center, Hurricane Debby was downgraded at 11 a.m. to a tropical storm. As of noon Monday, at least 4 deaths have been confirmed due to the storm. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Authorities say at least 4 people have been killed. They include a driver who drowned and 2 people who were killed in a car crash. A 13-year-old boy was killed when high winds from the storm knocked a tree onto his mobile home in Fanning Springs, Florida. And next up, the gender of 2 athletes competing in women's boxing is in question during the Paris Olympics. This comes after the International Boxing Association, or IBA, ran a sex chromosome test on them last year. The IBA said today the 2 were disqualified from the 2023 World Championships because of their results.
The 2 boxers at the center of the controversy are Taiwan's Lin Yuting and Algeria's Imani Khalif. Eyebrows were raised after Khalif's Italian opponent ended their first-round match in under a minute after being pummeled by Khalif. The IBA president says the International Olympic Committee was given the results of the chromosome test months ahead of the Paris Games, but did nothing with the information.
We never intended to raise any of these issues at this event because this is not our event. This event belongs to the IOC. The whereabouts of this has come out based on the result of the bout between the Italian Angela Carini and Imani Khalif.
The Olympic Committee no longer recognizes the IBA as the global governing body for boxing and permanently banned it from the Olympics. A spokesman for the IOC says the test results are questionable and that the IBA, which ordered the test, is incredible.
The source from which they came was not credible, and the basis for the questions was not credible. So therefore, for the test was not credible. As I said many days before, these athletes have been competing in senior competition for 6 years without any issue. They're eligible to compete here and they've competed here. I'm not aware at all of any representations that we've had, Steve. So.
Both Khalif and Taiwan's Lin Yuting are guaranteed medals in boxing during this year's games.
Both boxers have moved on to the semifinals. According to the rules in boxing, this means they will at least win a bronze medal. And over to the economy. Fears over a slowing U.S. economy sent stocks tumbling today, igniting another sell-off for financial markets around the world. The decline also raised concerns about the Federal Reserve's strategy to tackle inflation. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
The S&P 500 was down 2.4% in morning trading, on track for its worst day in nearly 2 years. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 900 points. The Nasdaq Composite slid 2.8%. The decline was the latest in a worldwide sell-off. Stock markets across Europe sank more than 2%. Japan's Nikkei plunged 12.4%, its worst day since the Black Monday crash of 1987. Friday's Labor Department report showed employers slowed hiring last month by much more than economists expected. The Federal Reserve hasn't cut interest rates in more than 4 years in an effort to tame inflation, but the latest data has raised concerns that the central bank has pressed the brakes on the U.S. economy too hard for too long. Some traders worried that the Fed would have to cut interest rates in an emergency meeting before its next scheduled decision on September 18th. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Following the stock market plunge, online services at brokerages Charles Schwab and Fidelity Investments faced an outage today. Many investors were left frustrated. Periods of extreme market volatility can sometimes trigger technical problems. The issues also raised questions about the capacity of brokerages to handle high volume. According to outage tracking website downdetector.com, more than 15,000 Schwab users couldn't log on. Fidelity outages peaked at over 3,500. Earlier in the day, Robinhood Markets said it had resumed overnight trading after a pause. The platform of choice for several retail investors lets users trade select stocks and exchange traded funds 24 hours a day. Charles Schwab and Fidelity Investments also said they had resolved technical issues with their apps. And on to politics. Vice President Kamala Harris's team interviewed at least 3 potential vice presidential picks over the weekend. She's expected to make her decision public before the start of a week-long campaign tour that kicks off Tuesday in Pennsylvania. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more on this story.
Vice President Kamala Harris met with her top 3 VP contenders over the weekend. She met with Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, with Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Senator Mark Kelly was first elected in 2020 in a special election to complete the remainder of the late Senator John McCain's term in Arizona. A former Navy captain, Gulf War veteran, and NASA astronaut who piloted the last mission of the Space Shuttle program, Senator Kelly is married to former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who survived an assassination attempt in 2011.
Kamala Harris has been across the country, for the last, week, meeting with the American people. She's available, accessible. Kamala Harris is the candidate of the future for this country. She wants to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, make child care affordable, reduce the cost of health care for the American people.
Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania is a former attorney general and shares a background as a prosecutor with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Governor Shapiro was elected in Pennsylvania in 2022 and beat then Republican Doug Mastriano by double digits. Shapiro, raised in a Jewish household, has called for an immediate 2-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and has called Benjamin Netanyahu one of the worst leaders of all time. Democrats need to win Pennsylvania in order to reach 270 electoral votes.
She is obviously uniquely aware of the importance of picking someone who she can run with and win with and, of course, govern with. And I know she will make this decision, as she makes every decision, in the best interest of the American people.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz rose to be a top VP contender for the Democratic ticket after he posted a social media video that went viral where he called vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party J.D. Vance and former President Donald Trump weird guys. Tim Walz is a former educator, Army National Guard veteran, and former U.S. congressman with strong ties to labor organizations in the Midwest. Vice President Kamala Harris and her VP pick will make their first joint public appearance Tuesday evening at Temple University in Philadelphia before kicking off a week-long tour through the battleground states. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And Trump Media has begun rolling out a new streaming platform on Truth Social. The CEO of Trump Media describes it as a reliable home for great TV content that is neglected by the big corporations or is at risk of cancellation. Trump media said it started beta testing the streaming services on Friday. It said the service will first become available on the web and then on Android and iOS. The company's streaming technology is touted as backed by specially designed infrastructure. The company's CEO says this makes the platform uncancelable. And in international politics, Israeli officials say an airstrike has killed another Hamas leader. And leaders of the U.S. and Jordan are working to defuse the conflict in the Middle East. NTD's Fiona G has the latest updates.
Leaked records over the weekend show disagreements between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and heads of Israel's domestic and foreign intelligence agencies. The officials say they believe they could reach a ceasefire deal if Netanyahu lets go of some of his demands, which the prime minister is refusing to do. In the U.S., Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group to the Middle East. The move is meant to support Israel and boost protection for U.S. troops. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said his country needs to be ready for an attack from Iran. According to Lebanon's Ministry of Health, an Israeli airstrike Monday killed 2 people in Lebanon. Strikes on 2 schools being used as shelters in Gaza City reportedly killed at least 30 people Sunday. Israeli officials say the attacks targeted and killed Jabir Aziz, commander of Hamas's Al-Furqan battalion and a major organizer of the October 7th attack. As fears over an escalation in the conflict rise, diplomatic efforts continue. Jordan's foreign minister visited Iran Sunday and met with Iran's acting foreign minister. This marks the first visit of a Jordanian official to Iran in 2 decades. President Biden spoke with King Abdullah of Jordan on Monday. They discussed efforts to reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Meanwhile, the commander of U.S. Central Command spoke with Israel's chief of the general staff. The officials discussed strategic and security plans for the Middle East. Biden is convening his national security team Monday afternoon to discuss developments in the Middle East. Fiona G., NTD News.
And an update today from the Department of State on the region's conflicts. A spokesperson talked about Secretary of State Antony Blinken's stance on the issue.
Earlier today, Secretary Blinken spoke to Qatari Prime Minister Al Thani and Egyptian Foreign Minister Abdulati about tensions in the Middle East, the latest in a series of diplomatic engagements he has held over the past few days with counterparts in the region and around the world, including calls yesterday with G7 foreign ministers and Iraqi Prime Minister Soudani. The Secretary has delivered a consistent message in all of these engagements. We are at a critical moment for the region, and it is important that all parties take steps over the coming days to refrain from escalation and calm tensions. Escalation is in no one's interest.
The Department of State emphasized the impact of the war on the lives of innocent civilians, saying that escalation is not inevitable. The spokesperson reiterated U.S. support for the defense of Israel and said he believes a ceasefire is in the best interest of all parties involved. He also encouraged U.S. citizens to evacuate from Lebanon. Next, the United Nations today fired 9 staff members from its Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. The UN said they may have been involved in the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. A deputy spokesperson said the Office of Internal Oversight Services had completed its investigation into 19 staff members. He said all 9 of the fired individuals were men. The spokesperson did not give specific details of their involvement. The United Nations launched the investigation after Israel claimed that 12 staff members took part in the October 7th attack. The UN agency employs 32,000 people, 13,000 of them in Gaza. And up ahead, Parisians have finally fallen in love with the Olympic Games as French athletes exceed expectations. And visitors from outside France are enjoying the Games at the city's iconic landmarks. NTD's David Vivez tells us what tourists and Parisians alike are saying. And find out how a meeting between a man and a stray dog inspires the opening of a dog sanctuary. That and more after the break.
My dad's name was David. He always talked about getting life insurance, and now it's too late.
No one was expecting my husband Dave to suffer from a heart attack. We didn't have life insurance. We thought we had more time.
Don't be Dave. And don't wait until it's too late to get the life insurance coverage you need. And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Call now to get affordable life insurance.
Just call 800-494-1562.
If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam, no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Remember, don't be Dave. Call now.
Call now. 800-494-1562.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Welcome back. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh has resigned following violent protests. She was the country's longest-serving leader. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled the country via helicopter and landed in India after what is believed to be the deadliest day of protests.
The Honourable Prime Minister of Bangladesh has resigned from her post, and we will form an interim government for now to run the country. I request that all of you support the army and stop the violence, murders, troublemaking, and the protest.
Expect the military government, military has taken over the power, and there will be a neutral administration. There will be free and fair elections in the country, and we will have democratic government. That's why we are victorious today.
The protests started when the government put a quota on coveted state jobs. The quota was lowered, but the scope of the protests continued and expanded into calls for Prime Minister Hasina to step down. The military holds much power in the country and was favoring her stepping down in order to calm the situation. And the State Department announced today that U.S. welcomes an interim government in Bangladesh. Next up, Elon Musk has revived a lawsuit against ChatGPT maker OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman today. He said that the firm put profits and commercial interests ahead of the public good. The suit was filed in a district court in Northern California. It alleged that once OpenAI's technology started to transform generative artificial intelligence, Altman, quote, flipped the narrative and proceeded to cash in. In June, Musk withdrew an earlier lawsuit against OpenAI and Altman. The lawsuit accused them of abandoning the startup's original mission to develop artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity rather than for profit. Attorneys for Musk had asked the California State Court to dismiss that case. And Boeing and Spirit Aerosystems executives are set to testify tomorrow on the mid-air door plug blowout of an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 in January. The hearing is scheduled to last 2 days and will cover manufacturing and inspections, safety management and quality management systems, and FAA oversight. The National Transportation Safety Board said those who testify include Elizabeth Lund, Boeing's Senior Vice President for Quality, Doug Ackerman, the Vice President of Supplier Quality for Boeing, Terry George, the Senior Vice President and General Manager for the Boeing program at Spirit Aerosystems, and Scott Grabon, a Senior Director for 737 Quality at Spirit, which makes the fuselage for the MAX. Several Federal Aviation Administration officials will also testify, so watch out for that. And next, in Paris, Olympic fans can easily walk from one competition to another while visiting central Paris at the same time. It's a very pleasant experience for many supporters, and the French are outperforming their usual medal score in this year's Olympic Games. Fans in Paris told NTD's international correspondent David Vives the Games have exceeded their expectations.
Many French people and Parisians have complained over the past month about what life would be like in the capital during the Olympic Games, amidst political tensions, potential unrest, security risks and construction works. However, things look different now, as French athletes have started collecting medal after medal. The mood has lifted. After swimmer Louis Marchand's victory in the butterfly final, France is now third in the Games medal table with 44 medals, including 12 gold medals behind the US and China. This is a record in the medal scoreboard for French athletes. If we add to that a shining sun, there's nothing for the French to be really grumpy about in the capital now.
I think we were all happily surprised by the organization. Because we're Parisians, we expected it to be a bit more complicated. And no, it's great.
It's a change from the usual Parisians' grumpy faces. Usually, it's a bit of a drag. Frankly, it's very joyful. It's very nice. It also feels like we're with family.
There's a really good atmosphere and lovely people. Everyone was expecting things to go wrong, and in the end, people are feeling good. There's a beautiful spirit in these games.
There's no tension between supporters and fans of different teams. No tension at all. You can feel that people are coming together to have a good time.
The experience of the city, heavily secured by 45,000 police officers, seems different for tourists and residents. Fencing contests in the Grand Palais, biking at Place de la Concorde, archery at the Invalides. Many supporters praise the decision to not only hold contests in stadiums but in different iconic places and monuments in the capital. The large pedestrian zone allows short and long walks for those who want to visit the capital.
I'm coming back. I've not been here for maybe 20 years and yeah, it's reminded me why it is such a beautiful city and I need to come more.
Good to have the venues, so Champ de Mars under the Tour Eiffel, Place de la Concorde here, etc. It's made the iconic landmarks part of the games.
And very easy to be a pedestrian around here. So it's good to get from place to place, it's easy.
I feel like it's very accessible.
Okay.
Yeah, Paris is such a pretty city too, so it's really nice to take pictures and explore.
The Olympics will end on August 11th. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
And lastly, a man from Sweden had no idea that a chance meeting with a stray dog in Thailand could be the key turning point in his life. NTD's Daniel Monahan speaks with Michael Baines from the Man That Rescues Dogs Foundation to find out how he went from running a restaurant to a dog shelter.
Michael Baines is a Swedish entrepreneur who moved to Thailand to open a restaurant. It all started when a dog showed up outside his restaurant in very bad shape.
And I just had to help her. I felt this was my calling, my call. So I fed her. And she came back every day at 5 o'clock. Again, a trust, I took her to a clinic.
That chance encounter ignited a passion in Baines, and so he began to feed the stray dogs in the streets. From 2011 to 2016, Baines worked alone. But a clip of his work helping dogs in 2016 changed everything.
And it went so viral, we got 200 million views on a clip, 25 different languages, articles. Everybody knew about me. So we started to get more donations. I rented a house, I hired staff, and we took in more cases. So in 2017, I took over the local dog pound from the local government.
The sanctuary has 44 disabled dogs in its care.
I named them the wheelchair mafia. You have crazy traffic that don't slow down when they see a dog, and then you have about 2 million stray dogs. So that's a match that is not made in heaven.
Besides the wheelchair dogs, the sanctuary has over 750 other dogs and feeds an additional 400 on the streets. In total, the shelter cares for about 1,200 dogs.
Baines no longer operates his restaurant, but he's got plenty of work feeding all those dogs.
What we do is we have dry food and rice, and we mix that with boiled meat with different flavors. And it can be teriyaki chicken one day and pepper pork the next day, or salmon.
The sanctuary founder is glad that the dogs have been given a second chance in life.
Oh, the greatest reward is that you help so many, and I feel I'm just happy to walk around in the sanctuary and greet the dogs, and they're so happy. And you know, when we do walk many dogs per day, and when they run around in our area, it feels great.
Baines says they have a great relationship with the local Thai municipality, which provides the land for free. And the sanctuary staff visit schools multiple times each year to teach kids that a pet is for life. The sanctuary has a clinic on site that is fully equipped with X-ray equipment, a lab, and ultrasound machine.
So we spay and neuter on a daily basis, which is probably the best way to tackle the issue.
Michael Baines is the author of a new book called Homemade, which details his journey from Sweden to Thailand and his sanctuary. It will be released in August. For more on the dog sanctuary, go to tmtrd.org. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
All right, thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol